So welcome to week 3 of Match Under the Microscope, where Lee Allenson looks back on some of the most important games in his year in charge of us at Silver Jubilee Park. So today's game, we go back to the 8th of February 2020, when we make the journey to bottom of the table, Dorchester. Lots to talk about, including my favourite goal of the season. Lee, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Steve. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thoughts about that game going into it? We were on a good run, and they hadn't won for months, 4 months, I think. Dorchester, root at the bottom of the table, cast iron certainties to go down. We were going strong at that point.
Yeah, we were. We were on a really good run of form. I think we'd won 4 or 5 in a row at the time. But it was a strange game because I knew that the appointment that they'd made in their manager had sort of upturned in terms of their performances. And if you actually looked at them on paper, they had some very good players. You know, one of their players this season has just signed for Eastleigh. So the reports we had was, you know, their footballing side, they're a bottom of the table side, but on the way they play at times, they're not. And I think you see that in the game when we first started, Steve, that, you know, and for me, it was one of them games, although we'd beat the better sides of the division at the time, you're still thinking, you know, if you lose this one, they're going to now be 3 points closer to where we are. You know, you've only got to go on a run of 3 or 4 poor performances and losses, and you get dragged back into it. So for me, going into that game, it was really crucial we come out with 3 points. And, you know, with the team we picked, and you know, I thought that we went really strong, but as you see, for the first 20 minutes, we got absolutely battered on the day. So, you know, it was a very tough game.
So continuity is really important, and success breeds success. And your starting 11, take Rihards out, and everybody else is still with us, and it's very unusual at this level of football.
Absolutely, and the reason why they're still with us is because obviously I felt that we were going in the right direction as a football club, and I feel it's only right that everyone deserves that chance to stay with us and prove that we are good enough to try and get in that top 5 or 6. And you know, that was the reason why we kept the squad together this year. You know, listen, if we'd have carried on the season and would have had some poor results towards the back end, then you maybe look at it, assess it, and say, right, we need this, and this. But the performances were good, and that's why that to this day, and you know, majority of them boys are still with us now.
Good. So, you mentioned the start Dorchester made. They had chances to take the lead, and Rihards. Well, talk us through it. It wasn't 1 or 2, but there's 3 saves in the same move. How Dorchester didn't go ahead, I've got no idea.
No, and listen, they played very well early, Dorchester. You know, I thought they were a very good side. They're going forward were as good as we'd seen. I felt that season, because they were very good in their forward line. They had pace to burn. They had good size and power, and they were very good. But we you know, I played corks on the day and just tried to make us because the Astro was so nice to get us passing the ball, but we just got overrun first half. We couldn't get out. Sean couldn't get the better of their fullback. We couldn't get it into Joe and make it stick. We couldn't get it out to Brooksy and find little pockets. It just wasn't happening for us early, and they camped in our half. And listen, the big man was well worth every penny on the day, because he pulled off probably the best 3 saves in one chance that we'd seen all season, and he was fantastic, and that's what he was at the club for. And I knew as the game went on, I felt that we would get stronger and better. But we had to weather the storm. You know, they had the crowd behind them. There was a good crowd there on the day, and I think you'd seen that they'd seen an upturn in their performances. So you know, it was a very, very tough first half hour. Sort of first 35 minutes, it was all them. But we slowly got a little foothold in the game.
So Rihards made that incredible triple save, and then the home side had another chance as well, where they hit the post and by. You said you kind of knew they were a good side despite the fact they were bottom, but did they surprise you about how good they were?
No, because as I say, we work thoroughly on our research, and I know going into every game, and I go back to when I was at Biggleswade, you'd always have 1 or 2 teams that you felt, yeah, listen, if we do it right, We had Bedworth at the time at Biggleswade, and then St Neots had lost all their money and they'd went very, very young. So you sort of look at them games and say, right, if you approach it properly, and funny enough, we actually didn't against St Neots and dropped 2 points. But the Bedworth game, we actually won quite comfortably because we've done it properly. So, but there wasn't that in this league this year. You know, we've gone over the Beaconsfield game. We've gone over now. We're going over the Dorchester game. There wasn't a poor side. It was just I felt that they were one of them sides that you get in that. I've been there as a player. You know, you go 1-0 down and then your heads drop and suddenly you bang under pressure. But if you give them an opportunity to take their chances, that they've become a good side and their tails become up and they become good. You know, the midfield were good for them on the day. And as you just alluded to there, they hit the bar, the post. The keepers made 2 or 3 great saves. We were under massive pressure on the day. And as I said to you, it was a no-win game for us as well. It was the first time we've been in that position where team or people were like, that's a winnable game for you. You win that one, you go on to the next. Football isn't like that. I've said that before many occasions. You have to earn the right to win football matches. And luckily for us, they didn't get that goal. And what they'll do then is get bodies behind the ball and hit us on the counter attack. And that, luckily for us on the day, that never happened.
So we got into it. They kind of stopped having chances for a while in that first half. Sam Corcoran, we talked about the goal he scored that rebounded off the post in the back of the keeper's head last week. Corcoran had a shot that went narrowly wide. And then Simeon, who turned out to score the final goal, he went on a bit of a mazy run and also almost gave us the lead. What's he doing? He's supposed to be a defender.
Yeah, no, listen, that's what Simeon brings to the team. He's a forward-thinking fullback. I think you look at the way the modern game is now, and you're used to your fullbacks sitting at home and not taking chances. But I feel now we've got 3 fullbacks at the club that all look to get forward and create another attacking player in Lucas, Joe Howe and Simeon. For me, Simeon's probably the best at it. The other 2 are naturally good defenders with a forward-thinking mind. But Simeon just loves getting forward, and where Simeon's good, he's got the recovery powers to get back and defend. And I thought, as I said to you, we started to get a foothold in the game, which I knew would happen at some point, but you don't want to be behind at that stage. And, we started releasing Simeon down the wing. He was getting loads of ball. He was going forward. We started to dominate possession a bit more. And obviously, we had a great chance before half-time to go 1 up, but didn't take it.
So we go into the break 0-0. What did you say to the team at half-time? Did you kind of feel maybe you dodged a bit of a bullet on balance of play?
Absolutely, and I told them at half-time it wasn't good enough. It wasn't a good enough performance. We didn't win any first or second balls. We give them too much respect in terms we didn't go about our work and hunt the ball and work and press. And we were very laboured on the day. And I think it was Yate was the one after. I felt that there was a performance coming. You always get them when you're winning games. You take winning for granted sometimes. And the week after we beat Yate, and that was our poorest performance out of the 6 games. But you could feel it at Dorchester coming along. And I warned the boys, don't take winning for granted. You have to still win the first and second balls. You have to still press with an intensity about you. And we didn't quite have it. But I did say to them at half-time, if we can start dominating on the ball, if we can press them higher up the pitch, we can stop the ball getting in behind us with Tommy and Eddie at centre halves, and we can start stepping in with a purpose and passing the ball to our wide men, getting into support with Joe White, that we felt that we would be a better side for that and then start creating chances.
And that's what we did. And Joe White had the ball in the net, only for it to be ruled out for offside. I know sometimes managers' eyesight isn't quite good when their team has a goal ruled out for offside. Fair decision, that one?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's always difficult, but, you have to trust with the linesmen and it was one of them things. Joe, for me, did look offside and listen, Joe stuck it away, but it wasn't to be. But I felt then, the tide started to turn. We started to dominate them. We started to play in their half. We started to get into them a little bit, which you have to do, especially away from home. And we started to turn the screw a little bit then.
So the last couple of weeks, we've spoken about a defender scoring a goal for us, and 3 weeks running, and here we go again. Tommy Brewer has an effort that's saved, corner. He's completely, the ball comes over. He's completely unmarked, heads in from 2 yards. A simple goal. And then I hope you notice that I've taught him how to do the cartwheel stuff. His celebration, that's all down to me.
Nice. It was very funny leading up to it. If I recall, our set pieces on the day were absolutely abysmal. Shawnee and Corks they just couldn't get it right on the day. And listen, my biggest pet hate, probably because I was a set piece taker myself, is hitting the first man. And all we seemed to do on the day was hit the first man. So I don't know what it was, but I just asked Kieran Forbes to start taking set pieces. And the one thing Kieran don't do is run to take set pieces. He hasn't got it in him. But the one thing I know Forbesy will do, he just keeps the game very, very simple, Forbesy. And he doesn't complicate it. He doesn't do too much. And I remember screaming at him to go and take the corner. The corner comes in, it comes back out. The recycled ball goes back in the box. And Tommy's at the back post and heads us home. And they thought it was offside. I think if you look back now, the replay, he was miles onside. And it, a huge relief then. And I said to you before, if they go 1-0 up on us, they get 11 men behind the ball and become very, very hard to beat. You go 1-0 up on them, they've now got to come at us. And I think that's when we're at our most dangerous.
Okay. So we're a goal ahead. But when you're 1-0 up, the pressure's still on because it's a marginal advantage. But we do make it 2 with time running out. 88 minutes gone. Talk us through it. Joe White's through. Keeper saves it.
I think, no, Steve, you said it there, if we go back to that game, they weren't a poor side. They were a very good side. They dominated long periods at 1-0 with the ball. But we did counter-attack many times. I remember bringing Percy on for Corks to try and give us the legs and energy in midfield to then start breaking. That was the game plan before the game. And we started to get lots of chances. Brooksy started to get into the game. Sean Lucian got into the game. Joe was getting chance after chance. But they were still coming at us, and we defended ever so well. We defended a few corners, a few crosses. And then we broke away. And Joe, obviously, you're thinking, just stick it away and we can have a nice afternoon then and look forward to the coach journey home. He misses the first one, but it fell back to him and he stuck it away.
You mentioned Percy there. He's a bit of an interesting character because I think he joined us on loan from Colchester. So he was kind of involved in a league side. But his career, would it be fair to say, has kind of gone backwards a little bit?
Absolutely. I think if we had Percy sitting with him now, he'll probably say it's the worst decision he's ever made to go and sign for Colchester. He was playing week in, week out at St Albans. He was doing very, very well. I rate the kid highly. He's probably the best player that I've seen in the Conference South in 2 performances, one against Chelmsford and one against Dartford. One, he played centre midfield. He was just unbelievable. And the one, no one realises he's actually a fantastic centre half. And for the size of him, he doesn't look it. But he just went off the rails a little bit, and he'd seen that he had the opportunity to go into full-time football, and who wouldn't take that opportunity? But as I said to Percy, you're playing Conference South football. Why do you choose to go and then play under 23s? And he goes into Colchester, he then gets loaned out to Malden and Tiptree, so he's now dropped 2 levels. And that's very difficult for someone like Percy. He needs to have some structure about him and play at that top level of Conference South. And he would have kicked on for me. It never quite worked, and he had a few problems. And it was a great signing for us. And I still say it to this day, because you've never ever seen a funnier, kinder person than Percy Kiambenny in the change rooms. He is unbelievable. You have to turn a blind eye to certain things, and but he is he just gets the changing room absolutely flowing. But the problem is with Percy, I felt that I needed a more consistent Percy, and I wasn't quite getting that. And with Percy, if his head's in the game, he's very good, very consistent, but I didn't quite know where his head was. And do you know what? He's at Enfield Town now, and by all accounts, he's doing really well. And I couldn't be happier for the lad, and I hope one day we get to see the real Percy, the good Percy that I know, and watch him kick on. But, we felt on that day it was the right decision to put him on the bench. He wasn't playing as well as we knew, but we knew he'd give us an injection of pace coming off the bench, and that's what he done.
All right, so we're 2-0 up. Job's probably pretty much done. We go into injury time. And I know last week we spent quite a lot of time eulogising about Liam Brooks' goal of the season. But for me, this for me was the best goal of the season because there were 8 passes involved. And at our level, when players respectfully are not necessarily always the best at mostly one touch and moving on, but this was, I think, 8 passes, one after the other. And I thought this was an outstanding team goal. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Listen, I believe that we're trying to change the way we are now. I felt last year we had to just go and have a battle because where we were in the league. But this year, I think you've seen that we're more of a football inside. And that day last year, if you watched us train every Thursday, you'd see that we could pass it like that. It just never seemed to come out in our performances. And, we brought Luca on and the confidence that he showed to receive the ball. We played back with to Forbesy with the outside of his foot. Forbesy's rolled him back in. And I say this to this day, he's the best crosser in the football club. He's the best set piece taker in the football club. We need him more consistent off the ball at times. But I knew the minute he had that opportunity to stick it in, and who's at the back post, Simeon, and it was the perfect goal for me. And that for me finished off a fantastic few weeks, a fantastic team goal. And I think you see the way the team celebrated, the happiness that you see that the two young boys have gone and done that. And it was an outstanding goal. I have to be honest. It was probably my favourite, that and the Brooksy one. It was just a great team goal, and it finished off an excellent second half for me that day. It was a really, really good team performance second half.
So the mood in the camp here then, after 6 wins in a row, was what? It must have been ecstatic in there.
Absolutely, it was a good journey home. It was really good, and it was nice to see the boys happy, and they deserved it because they were in a really good place, the players, and that's why I felt that it was right to keep the squad this year because they hadn't done nothing wrong. They were in a good place, and that performance for me, I keep saying the second half sort of tipped off where we wanted to be as a football club. The open play that the freedom that we played with, the defensive mindedness of when we were 1-0 up, how well we defended. We defended for the team and for the cause, and they knew what was at stake. And they weathered that storm, and we took over the game. And I thought we were excellent in the end.
And you did something I don't think I've ever really seen before at the end. And obviously everybody's very happy. It's another win. It's 3-0. We've kept a clean sheet. And the away support was really good that day. A lot of Hendon supporters made the effort, and it's not round the corner. Dorchester's a long way. And you led the team behind the goal, and the team, one by one, shake hands with all the supporters. I thought that was an incredibly nice thing to do, and something you never see.
No, I'm a big believer in that. Listen, it's easy to do it when you're winning, but I think you'll see with us, we do it when we lose as well. The one thing that we have to remember, without supporters, there's no Hendon Football Club. And people say, oh, you're saying that because it's a nice thing to say. It's true. It is true. And a lot of football clubs do the same. And, I'm a believer in we need to show our respects to the people that have travelled all that way. They have their opinion on it. And I felt that win, lose or draw, as I say, you'll see us do it all the time. They go out their way to watch us play football. And if they can do that, then I'm sure sparing 2 or 3 minutes of our time after the game, shaking hands and clapping the support is just something that we can give back as a football club and show that we do appreciate it. And listen, for me, I go back to my time at Biggleswade. I go back to it a lot, but I remember when we were playing Leaston for a playoff place, and there was 75, 80 people there, and it was very, very difficult to be motivated, and we lost the game 2-1. Now, I'm not saying it was because we had 80 people there, but if you've got a crowd that are making noise like we did at Dorchester, it certainly gives the boys a massive boost, and I felt on the day it did. When you get a corner and you hear a roar behind the goal, it gives you a great boost. And I think you've seen that now, the crowds that we're getting through the door, that they're appreciating what we're trying to do. We're not by no means a finished article. We're a long way from that. I still think we need to improve in certain areas. But the one thing you'll get from my teams and from our football club is hard work. And we don't lay down for anyone. We might lose some games, but we'll always go down with a fight. And I think you've seen that from when we took the job to where we are now. And, the support is massively appreciated.
So you talk about, having a fight in the team, and that absolutely sums up what we're going to be talking about next. It's the Brentford London Senior Cup final, where I think it's pretty safe to say I don't think we created more than one chance in 2 hours. And if it wasn't for the defence and the battle that the guys and just the sheer effort and determination showed, there is no way we would have won that game. But we've wrapped up Dorchester. That was the 8th of February 2020. Hopefully it will be Dorchester again when we return on the 12th of December 2020. Fingers crossed. who knows at the moment? But Lee, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good week, and really look forward to talking to you about your first of hopefully many trophies as Hendon manager when we look under the microscope, match under the microscope against Brentford next time around. Stay safe. See you next week.
Thank you.